I want to firstly say thank you very much for the invitation extended to me, Minister Sungi, and the board of the wonderful institute here, Chair Lady Secretary Thai Sanson, the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Michael Marape. Thank you very much. I feel totally privileged to stand here in this very important milestone day, where we're making a change of name from what is ordinary name to an extraordinary name in as far as our country is concerned. And I want to acknowledge members of our diplomatic family who are here, represents a different country, New Zealand High Commissioner, Deputy Ambassador, Republic of China. Of course, we acknowledge that the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea, His Excellency Ambassador Kang, is a little bit delayed or late, and maybe will join us later. We do acknowledge that this program was rearranged a little bit, bring it forth a little bit earlier, and I sincerely apologize. But as you all know, we are here to serve our people. And at around 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I'll be leaving for Bulolo, where it is representative really of the people we are called to serve. 80% of our people remain still in our rural enclaves. So lest we forget them, what a wonderful coincidence, back-to-back opening of this, being in this important institution, as well as going to visit Bulolo people. And so I do apologize, but I appreciate each and every one of you for readjusting and coming in earlier than later. Chief Secretary, Ambassador Pomalio, and all heads of department who are here, secretaries, agency heads, thank you very much. All public servants who are here right now, as well as tuning in, students. I want to also, in a special way, acknowledge those who work here, directors of past, or CEOs of past, but more importantly, the rank and file, those who cut the lawns, those who clean the place, those who maintain the place, those who offer security to the place. Please, why don't you join me and let's give a big round of applause to them. They make it happen for us, and a few of us receive the glory at the podium, but it's really those who carry the institutions and the public service at the back that men and women who must be commended. All other esteemed guests to this important occasion, I just want to acknowledge all your presence. Back in 2021, I remember making a press statement at the launch of the public sector training policy as part of a decision we took that numbered 61 of 21. This milestone policy was initiated by SILAG, now to be known as SILAG, PILAG. It was endorsed by government to ensure we have a positive pathway to improve the performance and the delivery system of our public sector through a systematic and consistent public sector training program. I believe this has become the impetus for this historic moment in which we are trying to adopt a new name that is iconic and resonates and represents our national identity and our aspirations. From the start, and with no element of biasness, let me say they can never be another one like the great-grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. He is the one and only, the greatest Papua New Guinean that will ever live in our own country's history. So it is important. And if there are members of the Somare family who are here, or if there are also people of the ECPIC, and of course all of us right across the length and breadth of the country, I just want to say thank you for allowing this name to be part of this institution, and also, more importantly, be part of our national character and national story going forward into the future. The Somare name signifies mindset change, value system change, national perception change, and what we must be as Papua New Guinean. If there is no person that motivates you in our country, you don't have to look far. Whilst the number one inspiration comes always from Jesus, number two must come from Sir Michael Thomas Somare. Is that okay? Number 2 must come from him. And I quote to you former UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon, who coincidentally is from Korea. On the occasion of 18th July, marking Nelson Mandela International Day, he made his punchline. Nelson Mandela showed what is possible for a world and within each one of us. If we believe, dream, and work together, let us continue each day to be inspired by his lifelong example and his call to never cease working for a better and more just world. Well, that's Nelson Mandela. But guess what? I'm here to tell you, my Somare too is a man equivalent. My Somare too is a man equivalent. He may not be a global resonating figure like Mandela, but he is held in high esteem. Certainly, if not prominent in most part of the world, well, in the Pacific, in the Asia, in the Commonwealth, and of course in his own beloved Papua New Guinea, he is an icon of inspiration. He's an icon of inspiration. And so it is fitting that we stand here today to witness transition of a name from Pacific, and I know there were many transitions that took place earlier, but appropriately now to be named Somare Institute of Leadership and Governance. It is very, very fitting, because legacy and the history tells us so. It was in Papua New Guinea Administrative College in the mid-1960s that a young Somare, then a student here, who would go on to becoming our first Chief Minister and our first Prime Minister, and of course, leader of Pangu Pati. Around this time, 50 years ago, in fact, December 1st, 1973, we gained self-independence under his watch. These were all moments that forged and shaped what would become Papua New Guinea 48 years on. Don't take your past for granted. Today's generation must never take the past for granted. You have to read your own country's history. Whilst you read others' history, read your country's history and be inspired. The informal conversation around the Bully Beef Club then started to form what would be the birth of the thought towards an independent sovereignty. Around 1960s, many nations around the world, and the nations around the world at the time were emerging, and the conversation and consciousness on national sovereignty was emerging. So too was Papua New Guinea. But in those times, in 1960s, our country was only 2%, 3% educated to the level of what was the ed call before. Only few were in university. UPNG, as the Vice Chancellor here, Professor Griffith, he will inform us correctly. UPNG and EdCol was birthed around the same time, and they were formed to shape the future of our country. They had critical roles, and educated Papua New Guineans was very few in between. And so in the few that were educated, the fathers of our country, the mothers of our country, under Bully Beef Club per se, started to think about the future of our country. Coincidentally, and today I am honored, absolutely honored, to stand as the leader of the Pangu Pati. It was Bully Beef that transformed into Pangu Pati. It was Pangu Pati that shaped everything we have today. Everything we have today. And so when people talk about this country, people like me, I stand in awe, because I have a greater responsibility. The party I lead today is not a Johnny-come-late party. It's not a party of just convenience, but it is a party deeply rooted in the conviction that this country must be established, this country must be developed, this country must be a fair country for every citizen, irrespective of region, place, color, religion, tribe, whatever. This is the country that must give equal opportunity to every citizen born into this country. That was Pangu Pati reason, that was the drive towards ensuring that it was established coinciding with the birth of our country. That is why the timeless Pangu Pati Sawela Road remains. They saw it ahead in 1967, converting from the Bully Beef Club into Pangu in 1967. Somare contested 1968, became the leader then. 1973, self-government. 1975, independence. If you're not inspired by the quick, rapid progress from just a concept to actual independence in under 7 and 8 years, then you and me are in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, as public servants especially. Public servants must know your history. 1963, since this wonderful institution was formed, then known as EDCOL, it has transformed from then into PNG IPA, then into Pacific Institute of Leadership, and now into Somare Institute of Leadership and Governance, with the mission of the institution remains the same nonetheless, to train public servants for our country, to serve our country. Sometimes some of you may see that I go by a better designation that goes like this, not Prime Minister, but I like to entitle myself as the chief servant of our country. All of us are servants of this country. If you think you are a privileged person, your mindset is wrong, and I just want you to change yourself, your mindset and my mindset. We are servants of this country. It was our fathers like Somare, who with little money, who with little backdrop of experience, who with little education, with not too many capacity around him, who were able to think and focus towards nationhood. And only in 7 years, they delivered our country into nationhood. And so this must inspire you. For every public servant today who come into this institution, this must inspire you to do better, to do more, to do just to the fact that you are employed as public servant in our country. The last time I did calculation, when I was finance minister, public servants right across our country consumed 25% of this country's revenue. 25%. Public servants consume 25%. Of course, we do all the heavy lifting in this country too. But you compare that with 25% of the country's revenue in every budget up till 2015 being consumed by public servants. Today, 7 or 8 years on, the size of budget has increased. We've come down to consuming 1/5. 1/5. But even at 1/5, that is quite high. When you look at the number of public servants, I was asking Secretary Sean earlier today, what is the number of public servants we have here? And she tells me 130,000, correct? 130,000 public servants. If you include those who are paid off our national parliamentary services and our national judiciary services, all in all, we don't go past 300,000. Yet we are paid a fifth of this country's budget at 2023. Whilst we serve our country too has been serving us, looking after our immediate family, our needs. We earn salary, and 90% of people don't earn salary. And so the call, the focus must be on us first and foremost, Mr. Chief Secretary, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Ministers, Mr. Secretaries, and Mr. Public Servant and Mrs. Public Servants, or Madam Public Servants. We look within before we look outwards. And as you start to look within, draw from the inspiration of the Somares, the Sir Paul Lapoons, the Sir Julius Chains, the fathers and mothers of our country who had little, yet they had a big heart and focus for their country. The public service functionality is important. We are paid to do the job, and we must know why we are in public engagement or public service. Each and every one of us, it's a jigsaw puzzle. The health of the jigsaw puzzle contributes towards the functionality and health of our country. Every one of us in the entire public service structure, from the Chief Secretary down to every one of you on the floor. If we know our call of duty, number one, if we know what we are to do, number two, And more importantly, if we are doing it, and doing it more, doing it extra, carry the load for someone else, if we work, we can truly make our country great. When I became PM in 2019, I set the aspiration, the richest black Christian nation on planet Earth. I don't withdraw this. In fact, I will be writing a PhD thesis on exactly how to get there. National leadership dream for their country. What's wrong for dreaming about a country? But when I dreamt, hardly anyone rose up to the dream 4 years on. We are complacent. We are slow. We are cumbersome. We are easy. We don't think we can do it. We sit back. We think someone else will do it. We hold back. We squander resources. We don't stick to budget. We don't think we can deliver. That is not good enough. That is not the Somare dream. That is not this country's dream in 1975. Certainly not in 1968 when the first thought for independence was pushed. And this year, today, December 1st, marks December 1st, 1973 self-government. December 1st, 2023 marks the 50 years of the time we step into sovereignty. We step into sovereignty. Mr. Chief Secretary, I want to propose to you a few things. From here until September 16, 2025, when we celebrate 50 years of nationhood, full nationhood, reform must be the #1 agenda in the public service structure. We must create a public service that has less impediments, but expeditious and efficient service delivery to our citizens. Because population today has quadrupled. Economy today has not caught up with the population growth. Public service today has become cumbersome, too big, and remain inefficient and not effective in dispensation of service delivery. And I am not wasting time here today because this institution has a critical role. And I want to propose something at this juncture of my speech. Everyone recruited into the public service will be still on probation until he or she passes 100% fully a certificate from the Somare Institute of Leadership. You must pass it. You must know why you're employed in the public service. No boy at workplace, simple things, coming to work on time, simple things, what matters most. Respecting women at workplace, simple things, what matters most. Respecting someone else's opinion in religion, an opinion in the mindset, all this must be part of the character building nation. For the national character will be saved by those of us in leadership. And it is us, leadership of the public service and politicians included, that matters most to this country going forward. It's not just the Prime Minister's job, every one of us. Prime Minister is the head of the national public service. He's the head of the national executive government. Whilst the judiciary and the legislator will make their own call, for us in the national executive government, the call rests on us, relies on us, that we must rise up and to take the bull by the horn, take the public service by the horn, to deliver post-2025. There is no excuse. And I want to, at this point in time, thank the focus on the institutional development. Thank you for the thought to ensure this institution rise up to be a university. Nothing's wrong to deliver a university to this institution. Higher education secretaries here, you know the statistics very well. We produce every year more than 30,000 grade 12 dropouts. We have not expanded in the space of post-grade 12 intakes in our TVET, in our colleges, in our universities. We need more university. This institution proposes to be a specialist university for the public sector, whilst the name may be Somare and endemic to Papua New Guinea, but Somare is an institution. Somare is Pacific. Somare is the Asia-Pacific region also. This institution, this university, holding the name of Somare will embrace the Pacific, will embrace Australia, will embrace New Zealand, will embrace Indonesia, will embrace Philippines, will embrace Asia, Southeast Asia. Prepare this for a university that talks about efficient, effective delivery of public service to her constituent. I support the thought about elevating it to university. Is that okay? And we will start the process by giving some allocation in next year's budget and 2025 budget as we work towards this. And so I ask for every one of you to join in, our development partners, to join in and help the cause. And I want to step back and thank all our development partners. Firstly and foremostly, without biasness to the Australian government and Australian people. Time in, time out. No element of biasness, but I just want to say thank you to them. They saw the possibility of our independent sovereignty beyond the 70s, and so they prepared this institution in the 60s with UPNG and other important institutions, and right through time in, time out, including the transition from IPA to PILAG. They had a hand in the transition. I was around that time in elected office, and so up till today, I just want to say thank you in a special way to the Australian government represented by the High Commission. I want to say thank you to all other development partners. We have New Zealand, we have Japan, we have South Korea, and every other US aid, China, and everyone who have assisted us thus far. All our educational institutions is important, but this one is more peculiar and special in the sense that it really has a direct hand on the character, attitude, acumen, mindset of our public servants to really deliver to our people. And so if there is one space you want to put your hand on to contribute directly to the front line of service delivery, it is this institution. And so thank you all for stepping in. And I want to at this time say thank you to Korean Ambassador, the Republic of Korea, and the Korean government and people. I know later today, you, at the convenience of your time, you would be opening the support that you give to the development of this, the Information Access Center in SILAG. This facility has served its space well. It will continue to serve everyone well, and I just want to say thank you to the Korean people. And if you don't mind, can I step back, Papua New Guineans, and speak a little bit about Korea? Because I've studied the history. I want you all to study South Korea's history. 1948, they assumed independence. 1953, they came out of the Korean War. Please do your research. Don't look at me later on when you... after this, all of you are here. Whether you Sumatin Bloples or one of my district constable PILAG now, or you Sumatin Blopot Mosby, or you Walkman here, just do a research on South Korea. Very exciting case study I did. In my search for what is good for how I could propel PNG on, I've been doing different researches, and South Korea emerged to me as a very compelling case of how they migrated from almost poverty, not almost, but poverty, into first world nation, all just within 50 years of the nationhood. We are approaching 50 years today, and sometimes it pains me that we have been, operating at a snail's pace, and others have leapfrogged us. 1953 was only 20 years earlier than 1973 when we became self-government, correct? Now guess what? Their land size of the land is not bigger than our own Western province, to give you some context. Western province is around 98,000 square kilometers of land. South Korea is around a little over 100,000 square kilometers of land. Oi kamunai, you appreciate this plau diba? You clear now. You think him this plau. Legally Tashalol more than Western province. They don't have the luxury of an octary gold mine. They have no fertile land. 9 months or 8 months in the entire year, it's winter, and so the arable land is not in production. That was their country. At 1953, they were bands amongst the poorest. Their per capita GDP at the time was $68. $68, amongst the poorest on planet Earth. Some nations like, and out of respect, I will not name those names, they were rated the same. These nations have remained the same. They're still a third world poor nation today. 2023, South Korea is the 13th or 14th biggest economy today. Per capita at 33,000. Per capita at $33,000. One person. I try to understand what happened. Do they have gas fields and gold mines like we had? Do they have forestry like we have? Do they have fisheries like we have? You know, Western Province is 98,000 square kilometers. Papua New Guinea is 460,840 square kilometers of land. Much, much bigger. It's not only 9 months of productivity, but 365 days a year. We have summer all around, rain all around, water all around. Productivity of arable land is always there all the time. If you look at the GDP per capita in 1975, when we became independent, they were around $600 per person. We were around $400 per person. Almost the same. Yet in the last 50 years, they just made a gigantic leap into the stratosphere of advanced economy. And we have remained in poverty-stricken Papua New Guinea. You know, the difference is us working and not working. They worked and we choose not to work. Is that a fair statement? Something for us to think about. I want to conclude my speech now. SILAG, as we give this name, and I'm totally privileged to give this name, I want to ask this institution, and I want to ask Chief Secretary, and I want to ask Secretary of the Department of Personnel Management for us to ensure every public servant is reconfigured, rewired in the mind to put on the ethics of working hard. Not expecting others to work for you, but you work hard. You carry your country. For it will be one time, just like Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, whose casket was flown back into WIWEC as it is in 2022. 2021, is it, when he passed on. One day your casket too will eventually travel back to its final resting place in your village, wherever it is. Me too. What is the village that we are building, that your children will live on after you and me have passed on? If you think you have more time to live on earth, you are deceiving yourself. You're in the mindset that Eve was when Satan deceived Eve. Satan told Eve, you will not die, yet Eve died. She already had immortality, yet she was deceived. Don't be deceived today, public servants and politicians of this country, that you are iron men and iron women, you will live on and on. Bible reference to lifespan is 70 years. Do your mathematics today as I conclude. Do your mathematics. Did Aga get 70? If you think James Marape is lying, look at Psalms 90 verse 10, it says 70 to 80 years. That's the lifespan we have for maximum productivity as human beings. So do your own mathematics. How many years you have left? I see one of Papua New Guinea's top public servant, and please, sorry to use your name, but I want to use the name, Dr. Eric Kua, sitting here. Your life could have been snapped like this, but you are preserved. All of us, our life could go like this anytime, but we are preserved. Why are we preserved and why are we here? Find your purpose, find your destiny, find your contribution to your country. Don't just sit here wasting time looking at the future from a fortnightly spectrum. Fortnightly income-defined public service lifestyle is not a lifestyle that will contribute to the betterment of our country. It is not about earning that salary, but it's about contributing to the betterment of your citizens. Korea have done it. That is why they have the affordability to come to us to help. We have more resources than them, speaking in terms of natural resources. We could be contributing to them in 2023, yet they're contributing to us. I want Papua New Guineans to rise up, and I take this time now. Let's not embarrass Somare in his graves. It's a higher name we're putting into this institution. And for every public servant to come in here and to be trained here today and going forward into the future, carry the Somare spirit in you. Because if you are not carrying the Somare spirit in you and just pass through to get a certificate, diploma, or degree, you're wasting time and you'll be held accountable. Thank you very much for the privilege of honor to address each and everyone.